Well, we are starting to see some major layoff announcements, at least the potential for layoffs inside of the government. Just this morning, I read that the U.S. Health Department is expected to slash 10,000 jobs. That's per a CNBC article. The Treasury Department has an estimated 100,000 employees, and it too is, according to Bloomberg, set up for substantial layoffs. There have undoubtedly been additional announcements in additional departments. But what got me thinking this morning about these announcements is these feel, at least to me, very much like the layoff announcements we had probably 2 years ago in a different part of the economy. Guys, if you remember 2 years ago, we were seeing Meta, Amazon, Google, and others announce tens of thousands of cuts. Now, in big tech, those cuts were done because basically they overhired. They simply overhired. And they had their efficiency and this, that, and the other. But 2 years ago, big tech had similar sized announcements. Now, if you fast forward to today, it looks like the federal government and its various departments is going through the same cycle. Again, the government appears to have overhired. It appears that there needs to be, some restructuring, some efficiencies, cost savings, all of that. So again, these announcements are significant. You're talking 10,000, according to CNBC at the health department. It will certainly have regional impacts. Now, again, I do not know where the Treasury Department, Health Department employees reside. For all I know, they reside in Kansas. But on the surface, you've got to think a big percentage of these are in the DC kind of metroplex. So if that's true, and again, I'm not saying it is because, again, for all I know, they're in Kansas, you're going to see some impact on real estate. Again, always remember, and this is something I think we're going to learn a lot the next 6 to 9 months. There's timing issues, and we'll talk more about timing with tariffs in a minute. But demand turns off in an instant. Supply comes slowly. So again, I do think that the U.S. government is going through a very similar purge, reduction, efficiency, whatever you want to name it. It's certainly going to impact tens of thousands of people, which is not good. I feel for that, but nothing different than what big tech went through, right? Big tech, Amazon, Meta, Google, all had multiple layoff rounds when they were getting their spend right. So I think that is coming. Well, let's talk about auto tariffs. I don't know if you saw it yesterday, but after the market closed, 25% auto tariffs on cars and parts apparently manufactured and assembled outside the United States. Again, this will have an impact. Again, the impact will have various timing, lead, and lag. Again, the costs will be felt nearly immediately, likely starting April 3rd or 4th. Longer term, you could see supply chains modified. You could see even new plants built, but let's not get it twisted. I was listening to a CNBC host yesterday who focuses on the auto sector, and he had said that the fastest he could even imagine a brand new manufacturing plant being built would be 2.5 years. And he admitted, I think his last name is Fabode, I think. I forget his first name. But he was saying it's far more likely 4 years. So again, remember, the tariffs are felt immediately. Secondarily, you will have some supply chain adjustments. You will likely source what you can from other areas. But the hope for meaningful manufacturing jobs brought home via a new car plant are years into the future. That said, I think there is a secondary effect that you and I should watch. And I want to remind you of what we saw during the pandemic. Do you guys remember during the pandemic when we screwed with all of our supply chains and, new car production cratered? What happened to used cars? Do you remember? Well, used car inflation was nasty. I want to say I saw 1 month where it was annualized at 30%. Now, that wasn't the month, that was an annualized number. But one thing is certain, in my opinion, is not only are we going to see demand fall for new cars given price point changes, but you're likely going to see an increased demand for used cars. And if you remember that CPI print which was 9.1, I believe a big portion of that was used cars. So remember, there is a knockdown effect likely coming in the auto sector. And it is my opinion that used cars, at least in the nearish term, call it 6 to 9 months, are going to see a bid because, frankly, they're going to be a better value. So again, lots of stuff going on there. We did get pending home sales this morning at 7 a.m. right when I started. I have not gotten the number, but I've set up X to tell me what happened. Let me pull this up. U.S. pending home sales increased 2% month over month, surpassing the estimate of 0.9. That is rebounding from the previous month of negative 4.6. You have to remember, folks, pending home sales does not mean a transaction. We do have fallout, but again, something that we talked about yesterday. Follow what they do, not what they say. So again, pending home sales up 2% month on month, which is interesting. I'll dig into that more, talk about it more on Sunday, but I did want to cover that given it just came out in the last 7 minutes. There was one earnings this morning that I thought was interesting, kind of giving me a feel for what's going on with the consumer. Winnebago, maybe a company you haven't heard of, but Winnebago makes those big RVs, recreational vehicles. Winnebago industry earnings this morning beat top line, beat bottom line. Again, top line, they sold a lot of stuff. Bottom line, they made a lot of money. But they did lower guidance. Reading through their earnings report quickly, the CEO highlighted stubborn interest rates, more on that in a minute, and inconsistent consumer sentiment. Folks, I don't know if you've seen some of these RVs or recreational vehicles, but some of these cost more than a house, right? I saw one the other day that cost $800,000. It's crazy. So again, it doesn't surprise me that we have an inconsistent consumer sentiment could dampen demand, and obviously interest rates matter. Let's talk about Fed speak. We did get a lot of Fed speak in the last 24 hours. We'll start with Kashkari. We'll go to Musselman. We'll go to Goolsbee, Barr, Williams. Lots of different Fed speech. We'll go to Kashkari first. Policy uncertainty is complicating the Fed's job. Okay, sounds like a complaint, but okay. In the next year or two, we ought to be able to reduce interest rates. My guess, folks, is Kashkari is one of the Fed presidents that said there will be zero interest rate cuts in 2025. Again, I'll read that for you. In the next year or two, we ought to be able to reduce interest rates. Certainly not what President Trump wants to hear. I'm uncertain about the effect of tariffs. Dude, you're a Fed president. You've got like 2,000 PhD economists. Can we do better than you're uncertain? Let's go to Fed President Muslim. I'm grossly mispronouncing that, not on purpose. No urgency to lower rates. Higher for longer. Labor market at or close to full employment. Absolutely. I expect inflation back to 2% by 2027. Folks, we have another Fed president, I think it was Bostic the other day, that told us that we are not going to get to the 2% inflation until 2027. What does that mean? Higher for longer. What does that mean? No rate cuts in 2025. And again, if that happens, I will be taking massive victory laps because I called that last year. I do not see a recession on the horizon. Okay. It is probable. I don't know what I wrote there. Inflation is higher. Growth is lower in the near term. Again, I don't know about you, but that sure sounds like stagflation to me. And the last thing I wrote in the side, because I thought it was important, he says that small businesses are holding back on hiring given uncertainty. Again, that's going to have two steps. They're going to pull back in the short term. What will likely happen in the next 60 to 90 days is they will get clarity, and then we will move forward. So again, not to be unexpected. Goolsby, higher inflation is a major red flag. No kidding. I'm not even sure why you said that, but okay. Fed President Barr, lending standards have become tight during the pandemic and remain so. Yeah, I don't think that's accurate. I think during the pandemic, and let's call the pandemic 2020, 21, maybe half of 22, lending standards were not tight. Anybody who says lending standards were tight in 2020 and 21, not paying attention. That said, post-pandemic, which again I call, roughly speaking, summer of 22, that did get tight. And why did they get tight? Again, you saw commercial banks, the small regional banks, pull back because their balance sheets were impaired. You obviously had Silicon Valley Bank explosion or implosion. So again, you've definitely seen small commercial banks pull back. Last Fed speak, Fed President Williams, households and firms, think small businesses, are seeing heightened uncertainty. Again, same story. Consumers, businesses, uncertain. They pull back. They wait for certainty. Then they move forward. This is why I have warned you since January that the first 6 months of the year were going to be chaotic. This is exactly what I expected. My hope is now that we are at the end of March, we are halfway through. We've got another 90 days of chaos. But then should clarity clear up in the summer, things should get better from there. We do have IPO likely going this week. CoreWeave. This is the first pure play AI company. The reason I'm bringing it up is we also had a major acquisition. Google was buying Wiz. I wonder if this is the opening of the M&A and IPO window. If you don't know, it's really been frozen or locked up the last 18 months, maybe the last 24. So with Wiz getting a bid from Google, CoreWeave likely going IPO this week, this could be the unlocking of, that part of the economy. It is Thursday, so we got weekly jobless claims. Weekly jobless claims, again, staying right around that 220 level. They came in at 224. Last week was 223. Expected 225. So again, another week right around this anchor point. Also, continuing claims are down to 1.82 million, better than the expected 1.85 million. So again, continuing claims not rushing higher just yet. JP Morgan out with a note about tariffs, basically saying GM is in trouble. Says that if GM had to bear the full burden of the tariff costs, it would wipe out 100% of global profits. I've gotten some other notes here. It says Tesla is the least impacted by new tariffs because, again, they do a lot of manufacturing at home. GM and German automakers are most negatively impacted. Think BMW, think Mercedes. Funny enough, Ferrari, which is 100% manufactured in Italy, Ferrari should be able to weather the tariffs by sharing the burden with customers and dealer. Did you know, and I did not know, The average profit on a brand new Ferrari is 112 grand. I'm not even sure what an average Ferrari costs new, probably 300. Gosh, that's crazy to say. 300 grand. Gosh. So yeah, Ferrari basically not impacted. Do you want to talk about the accountability group run by Frank, Old Guy REI? Again, folks, please join school. 6 different accountability groups you can be a part of. Yesterday, they talked about a school member. A school member has locked up a duplex because of networking in the community. Again, folks, if you are interested in real estate investing, learning a new market, join school. There are people all over the country, and maybe there's somebody that you can network with and find opportunity that's better than your market. I really appreciate Frank, Jared, and everyone else who runs accountability groups. It brings a smile to my face knowing there's lots of go-givers doing that. Also, they talked about how to pass down properties should something unexpected happen. Dollar Tree says they are winning over more high-income shoppers as inflation stays high. Dollar Tree did highlight how they are going to fight tariffs. 1, negotiate with suppliers. 2, manufacturing changes. And 3, price increases. Shocking price increase. Bank of America says that gold's going to 3,500. I don't know what it is today, maybe 3,100. So that's quite a move. We do have some notes out about student loan borrowers. Apparently, 9.7 million student loan borrowers are past due. Remember, President Biden turned on student loan payments, but gave a 12-month on-ramp or grace period. Well, that ended, I think, in September. And now you are seeing student loan delinquencies reported. You are seeing average credit scores fall by 100 or more points. It is estimated that there's $250 million in delinquent debt. Ouch. Ouch. All right, what else do I got today? I think that's good. I hope you guys had an amazing day. Like, subscribe, comment, become part of our community. You can either subscribe here on YouTube. You can go nuts and spend 67 pennies a day and join school. If you got my book on Amazon, something I haven't asked for in a while, if you got my book on Amazon, One Rental at a Time, maybe go back to Amazon and write a review. I think that'd be nice. A little give back for me. That would be wonderful. Folks, have an amazing day. Take care.